Hello my friends, I hope you're doing great. Let's start from the situation on the front lines. I'll refer to Clement Molin and his analysis. He's a great author from France. I follow him and he publishes kind of the interesting information from the front lines and not only. So let me read you out his recent analysis about also Ukrainian territorial success in Dnipropetrovsk direction. He mentions that Ukraine continued to conduct a series of the deep infiltration attacks into the Russian defense. He recalls that even in February, Ukraine conducted several of the successful attacks from Pokrovsk, securing this settlement. Russians were very close, and now there is the second breath of Ukrainian advancement. The Ukrainian forces penetrated into the Russian positions which were previously taken by Russians back in 2025. This allowed the Ukrainian army to gain the foothold in Ternivata and conduct assault attacks towards Uspenivka. It also significantly slowed down the Russian assault from Gulaipole, a little bit more to the south, where Russia still gains this initiative. But the Russian army has to split its forces now to the northern direction because there is the major threat for the entire Russian group in Zaporizhia and Dnipropetrovsk direction. Because of the difficult situation for the Russian army in Gulaipole, Russia was forced to deploy additional forces. But Ukraine now nails down Russian supply lines, and this is the main reason why now Ukraine gains all of those territories. It's the second wave of attacks. In Kamar direction, the situation, according to the Russian Telegram channels, is causing concern. We also have two videos of Ukrainian presence in Pidubne. Pidubne is very close to Kamar. So the entire surrounding territory near Kamar is disputed, so it's in a gray zone. The Ukrainian armed forces managed to organize the safe passage to Iskra, one more settlement near Kamar, and secure themselves there, creating bridgehead. At the same time, Russian forces have difficulties supplying their positions as the terrain is unfordable, many rivers and few populated areas. So Russian forces are basically exposed open air in those fields and the train lines. Russians might secure themselves only in some of the settlements, like towns and villages. For example, in Gulaipole, Russia still keeps positions. And north of Uspenivka, this is the most recent Ukrainian counterattack. Ukraine managed to penetrate behind Russian positions. Ukrainian troops managed to secure themselves in some of the areas, simultaneously threatening and shelling a key logistical supply roads. Logistic roads, well, you understand what I mean. And here we have more detailed map. Ternivata was liberated back in February, and Uspenivka there is still Russian defense, and also in Kamar settlement, but Ukraine is getting closer. Each day our armed forces report about success in this direction. And this is the broader picture from the same analyst, Clement Molin, and you may see lots of the attack or counterattack vector of the Ukrainian army and also Russian attacks. They want to go to Novopavlivka as usual, but they lost so many forces and not yet even in that settlement. So according to the most recent information, the Ukrainian armed forces were spotted not that far away from Kamar village itself. This is the big village, actually. But to get it under control, Ukraine needs to cross the river, which is not easy thing to do. And from what I see, even Russians are concerned about the Ukrainian offensive operation. Well, they show less territorial gains of Ukrainian forces, but nevertheless, they show them. And in Ternova, recently, Ukraine expanded territorial gains towards Berezova, Kalinovska, and Novonikolaevka. Well, Russians, as you see, show the very narrow attack vector of Ukrainian armed forces, but if you check out any other military map, you would see that the situation for Russians, it is not that great. And all of that is possible because of the nightmare with the Russian logistics. For example, this is the kaput of the Russian refueling vehicle. It was hit by Ukrainian middle-range drone. Well, I'm not gonna show you the entire image, but one of the Russian soldiers cosplayed the Ghost Rider here. And those occasions, they're happening elsewhere, very close to the front lines, further away or far away. So this is the current reality for the Russian army. Supernova Plus shares this video, available also in some of the Russian publics. They show the Chongar bridge that was definitely damaged. They show just one hole, but it's understandable that there are more holes than just that one. That's why Russia cannot use the Chongar bridge. They try to build a pontoon bridge as well, but Ukraine nailed down that too. My friends, just a short reminder as usual, please press like to this video just right now while you're watching it. And also subscribe for the channel if you haven't been subscribed. And also, if you subscribe, please check out your subscription because YouTube may unsubscribe you for whatever reason. So it's very important to gain more subscribers. We're on the way to reach 1 million. And it is for free. But if you can, of course, you may support my job on Patreon. The link for it is in the video description right below, or join membership of YouTube channel by pressing button join. Thank you so much, guys. You are making this job possible. And let's continue with the video. And just right now we have the information from the Russian side that a bridge across the river in the city of Novozovsk, which is on the mainland route to Crimea, was struck and partially damaged. Trucks are not allowed to pass. They have to detour through neighboring villages. Novozovsk is right at the coast of the Azov Sea, not that far away from Mariupol and very close to the Russian border. Yeah, here is the very interesting screenshot when you ignore a Ukrainian road closure. And there are less and less of the drivers who would like to risk their lives to provide supplies for the Russian army group, as well as for civilians in occupied territories.
Вот это да, ребята, бляха-муха, гляньте, какая авария, жесть.
Well, it wasn't the Ukrainian drone in this particular case, it was the car crash accident, or lorry and the car crash accident. And on the same road from Mariupol to Crimea, the joint operation of the SBU Alpha was conducted according to information shared by Infactum. 422nd Regiment, together with Alpha SBU, Special Forces destroyed a complex of communication, suppression of electronic warfare designed to create interference in operation of the Starlink network. The Russian electronic warfare jamming system was kaputted between Melitopol and Berdyansk. And we even have the video confirmation. Those are the systems placed in the same area. They're being used to jam Starlink for Ukrainian drones, but something went wrong for the Russian armed forces. And I may tell you that not just Starlink is in use. There is some of the sophisticated technology that Russia doesn't use massively in its army that allows Ukrainian drones to operate even without Starlink, but for now within the middle range. And those are not just the trailers there. This is definitely the system or systems which were annihilated by Ukrainian drone strikes, and they cause some of the definitely disturbances for Ukrainian drone operations. Russia is now definitely in desperate to find the antidote against the Ukrainian drone strikes. They try, but nothing is happening, nothing serious. And all of the attempts to somehow, let's say, jam signal for the Starlink or to physically intercept the Ukrainian drones, they're not working. Yeah, there's some of the successful shutdowns of Ukrainian drones done by the Russian air defense, but it is happening just occasionally. Massively, they cannot prevent Ukrainian drone strikes on Russian logistics. And here we have the situation with the Russian fuel on the Russian territory. Yes, not even in the occupied regions. You may see huge queues on the road M11. The video was filmed just the day before yesterday, and the queues are absolutely unimaginable. The video says that it's like that for every of the gas station on the way. Russia has the fuel crisis, and I'm surprised that it is even reaching Moscow because they have the limit 20 liters of fuel per one soul. And do they really have the soul? And Ukraine also visited the port of Caucasus yesterday, so this is the place for the Russian ferry that was operating in the Kerch Bridge. Just to remind you, most of the Russian ferries were kaputted by Ukrainian drones and missiles, and only one is left according to the information coming from the Russian publics. You may see that the Kerch Bridge is very close, and according to the information from the Russian channels, Russia may allow to transport oil through the Kerch Bridge because it's the only way possible to supply Crimea. But at the same time, Russians are risking a lot because Ukraine may aim towards some of the train or number of the trucks in the Kerch Bridge to cause severe damage for the construction, which could be disabled for several months, as it happened for the first time during the SBU strike on the Kerch Bridge and the train. Well, it wasn't really the strike on the bridge, it was the kaboom of one of the vehicles that caused significant damage, absolutely enormous. And because the Russian army is unable to reach its goals on the front lines, Russian management continued to terrorize Ukrainian civilian cities and even temples. This is the Ukrainian Orthodox Church that was hit the last night inside Lavra complex. Lavra itself, on territory of Kiev, is one of the most important temple complexes for Orthodox Christianity, and it is very old, 975 years old to be more precise. Those are not just monuments, no, those are the active temples which are out there for multiple of the years. They survived absolutely everything. 2 world wars, the occupation by Tatar Mongols, I guess in 13th century. Lavra made it out, but Russians with Putin, they try to ruin this construction today. Just look at this drone video that was filmed early morning. I visited this church, and it is the main church on territory. There are priceless religious artifacts inside, and all of that was destroyed by the Russian Shahed drone or flooded by the water, but there is no other way. Firefighters have to act, because that is how they save even lives. Now, I'm very grateful for Kellen Robertson for him to put the light on those events. He visited the place and he filmed this report. He is Irish himself, but he lives in Kiev and he does tremendous, fantastic job for Ukraine. So Kellen, thank you so much for what you do.
So there's a priest behind me right now trying to save a cross, because this building, which is almost 1,000 years old, was hit by Russian missiles. You can see the police officer right behind me is looking out for missiles and drones, which are also coming into the city. I never thought I'd make a video like this, but it's 4 o'clock in the morning here in Ukraine. There are firefighters everywhere trying to put out the flames from a building that is burning right now behind me. And I actually can't believe that I'm witnessing this right now, and everyone is on edge. You know, these firefighters are putting their lives at risk just to try and save this building. So priests here are trying to save artifacts and trying to save things that are sacred as well.
So of course it's my recommendation, subscribe for Kellen Robertson. He also has his YouTube channel, but I usually read him on X platform, which is Twitter. By the way, he also said that the huge missile fragment landed on roof of his house the last night. Yet more evidence Russians have been randomly firing warheads right into civilian areas. Completely despicable, yes. And here's the part of the cruise missile which he filmed. Well, at the same time, Russians are saying that it wasn't their drone or missile that hit the monastery, but it was the Patriot missile of the Ukrainian air defense, which is nonsense because the remains of the Shahed drone was already found, and Russia hits Ukrainian infrastructure, civilian buildings, and even historical UNESCO monuments. Guys, just for you to understand, this church is older than the United States of America by several times. And those are the vectors of the Russian air attacks on Ukraine yesterday. Mostly Kiev was the target. Russia hit the capital city even with ballistic missiles, which are definitely hard to intercept. Zelensky also visited the place, and this is the roof of the church. It was devastated by severe explosion. And those are the drone parts which were found with the engine itself, so it's not the Patriot missile, it's just the drone that was not intercepted by Ukrainian air defense. Simply air defense is overwhelmed. The last night Russia launched more than 700 of the drones, so of course some of the drones may sneak through Ukrainian air defense and hit some of the targets like those churches. And the church itself, well, I wouldn't say it's destroyed, but it's significantly damaged, especially the upper part there. It caused the fire inside, and there is the damage from the water, as I mentioned you. So the next time, then guys like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens would say that Russia is the Christian country, therefore the conservative Christian values. Just recall this picture. And for the first time, Russia hit Ukraine with a new generation of the cruise missiles. It is called Banderol. Due to the very high speed of this missile, it is very hard to shut it down. The range of it is 500 kilometers. I guess that Russians are launching it from the airplanes. Well, still, they're not producing this type of the missile massively. The most massive production goes for aviation gliding bombs. But Ukraine is also developing something interesting. At the Eurosatory 2026 exhibition, Ukroboronprom presented a new strike unmanned aerial vehicle, UAV 290. Military Channel reports about it, and we have this photo of the cruise missile. It looks like the airplane, yeah, with the wings, with a vertical stabilizer, horizontal stabilizers, and it's kind of thick missile. Well, they call it a drone after all, so UAV 290 is capable of carrying warhead weight of 100 kilograms, and its total weight is 350. So it's not that big really. The flight range of the device reaches 650 kilometers, which allows it to hit targets at a considerable distance. Yep, it is a nice drone missile that is presented by Ukrainian government organization Ukroboronprom. That's the Ukrainian military, Ukrainian army production itself. It's not the private organization. Also, the Sea Trident kamikaze submarine was presented, capable to carry 1 ton of TNT. So Ukraine has developed a heavy underwater drone Sea Trident, which is designed to destroy strategic targets. I think it could be used even to cut some of the bridges. Yeah, Russia has some of the anti-submarine protection near the Kerch Bridge, but anyways, why not to try? So Sea Trident is capable of delivering a payload weight up to 1 ton to strategic targets, maximum range up to 2,000 miles. Just imagine, 2,000 miles, guys. This is no joke. More images of the Trident drone submarine of Ukrainian army. Here's the propeller itself and one more image. So basically TNT, the mechanism to operate the boat remotely, the engine and communication for the drone operator. Just to remind you, Ukraine already successfully used submarines against Russian Navy in Novorossiysk port, plus one drone submarine kaboomed the pillar of the Kerch Bridge. According to unconfirmed information, the pillar is being cracked, and Russia cannot repair it any longer. By the way, it could be the reason why Russia is not using the Kerch Bridge for the heavy cargo. And Ukraine also developed a ground launcher capable to fire air-to-air missiles, like for example R-60, R-73, AIM-9M Sidewinder, so it makes those missiles more versatile, not just being used from the airplanes, but also from the ground launchers. And we have some of the news. You may see a Russian Tupolev Tu-22M3 strategic bomber is flying down, yeah, behind that hill. And what is next? Yeah, the next is the smoke coming. So something went wrong. This is Irkutsk Oblast of the Russian Federation, pretty much far away from Ukraine. I think something went wrong with the airplane. Pilots managed to eject, sadly, because they're war criminals and yeah, they do absolutely crazy stuff in Ukraine, launching those bombs, missiles. Yeah, luckily for them they survived, but the airplane is flatlined, and here are the remains. The image was taken from the place by the local eyewitnesses.
Вроде должны остаться все живые.
This Russian who was filming says that he saw parachutes, so everyone should have survived this crash. And here is the zoomed in image just for you to see. The airplane dives down to the ground, and that's it. Yeah, it's a very sophisticated airplane, and the most important thing that Russia is unable to produce those any longer. They were made in Soviet Union, and the technology was lost with the previous civilization collapse. And this is the very close look on those debris of the Tupolev Tu-22M3, the best modification of this airplane type. There is also Tu-22M2, just Tu-22, but this one was the most modern. Somehow it crashed. Well guys, it's all for this video, but stand by for more, and please support my job if you can on Patreon. The link for it is in the video description right below, or join membership of YouTube channel by pressing button join. My friends, also don't forget to press a like to this video and subscribe for the channel. You're awesome, you're the best, and you're making this content possible. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.